So moving on, this is the third level for the Central Powers. This is the U.S. invasion of West Texas. Pretty open map. I was kind of concerned that there is a lot of dead space, especially over here, but considering it's West Texas and West Texas is a desert, it actually makes a lot of sense. So, kind of looking at maps of West Texas, especially even back then. So, this middle line of road here would be the primary advance for the U.S. forces, and then these other cities are kind of just on the fringe. They're basically there just if the United States wants to gain a little bit more IPC per minute in capturing those towns. Every town does have some sort of static defense. Basically, on the wings of the main advance, there's not a lot as far as like static defense. Well, I mean, here at Plainville, it's a little heavier. But so the first city, I mean, it's because of the initial invasion, there's not going to be much for the Confederacy to have as far as defending. At least the first town in the initial American advance into West Texas. And then you come down to the second city, Littlefield, a little heavier, helped by the Confederacy more time to build up to try and stop your advance. And then basically your goal is to capture Lubbock, and then off to the side here, you follow the railroad. Then you have Camp Determination. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this one yet, because I don't really have a way of like making it an actual capturable area. I'm going to fiddle around with it to try and make it a capturable area, but I'm just not sure at this point. Again, the map is still pretty much straightforward. I mean, as far as units go and restrictions, I mean, the United States still only has light tanks at this point, obviously, because it's West Texas, so it's a sideshow, so they're not going to get the heavy arm, get like the latest in heavy armor. Though actually, that is a trigger. Once you capture Littlefield, you will get reinforced with, I think it was, let me see here. So when you capture Littlefield, it'll trigger 3 medium tank regiments to spawn just outside of town, and that's sort of like a reinforcement that you get for doing a good job of advancing through West Texas. But ideally, you don't get, as the United States, you won't be able to actually build medium tanks, whereas I do believe the Confederacy can build medium tanks. I'm not sure if I'm going to change that and have them stick with just light tanks too. But again, as the book kind of said, the Confederacy's armor, even at the beginning of the war, is at least more advanced than the United States. So I figured at least the South would have medium tanks and the U.S. would have light tanks. But then again, this map encompasses, this map is supposed to encompass, like, what was it, I think in the book, like, it took 6 months to a year almost to get down to Lubbock, just because of the sheer size of West Texas itself. But so for the United States, they start off with 1 mechanized unit, and then the Confederacy doesn't start with anything, but they at least start with an infantry division. And the United States starts off with an infantry and a mechanized division. I kind of borrowed from the OG games, Battle of El Alamein, as far as the starting forces for this one. And I am contemplating putting more defenses here at Littlefield, I'm not sure yet. If you have any suggestions as far as whether or not I should beef up the static defenses at least here to make it a little harder for the United States. I did do one test of this, and while I won, and I was saying, even though there's a lot of dead space here, it makes it kind of interesting because at one point the Confederacy was able to send forces. They pretty much came out and around, and then they snuck up around here in my into my area, and I didn't think the AI would actually do it, but sure as hell they actually did, and that actually threw me for a loop for a little bit. So this is the invasion of Texas, or Houston, as they used to call it. Again, any suggestions would be was always helpful. So that's the end of this map.